Here's Johnny. You're gonna need a big approach. Why so serious? Roll out.
I am Iron Man.
This is a tasty burger.
Welcome to the In Session Film Podcast.
Welcome to Chasing the Gold In Session Films Awards podcast. I'm In Session Film Awards editor Shadan Larkey, back today with Matthew Anderson. We kind of have a mishmash of an episode today. We're going to talk about some festival news, some general movie news, talk about what we've seen lately, kind of a midsummer catch-up, if you will. Matthew, thank you so much for coming back to the show.
Yes, it's great to be back. Last time I was on here, I was talking with Brendan Cassidy and JD Duran on One Battle After Another opening weekend. And we were talking about the fact that it could be our next Best Picture darling. And guess what? It did. So yeah, that was great. But no, it's great to be back on the podcast. And Shadan and I have already collabed on my show, the Lone Screenplay Nominee Podcast, talking about Thelma and Louise. And that was a great episode, I thought. So hopefully this will be another great one.
And I'm so sorry, I forgot who it was, but I was talking to somebody and they were like, I'm really not like a Ridley Scott fan. And I was like, I have the podcast for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Check out the podcasts. Yeah.
Check out the podcast where we talk about Thelma and Louise and how much it still holds up. Absolute banger.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, since you were like the Nostradamus of last award season, I guess, are there any like super early predictions that you want to drop that may or may not come true?
I don't know. You ever heard of an upcoming actor by the name of Tom Cruise? I understand that a lot of people were very mixed or even downright negative on the Digger trailer. With Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu doing his like dark comedic style, coming back after Birdman and such. I understand there are people out there who are very worried about the movie, but for me, I don't know, there's just something about it. And I've even talked with a good buddy of mine, Nick Zednick, or as we like to nickname him, Zeddy from Vigilante Podcast. Him and I have been talking about it recently, how it feels like we're the only ones who are not only looking forward to the movie, but we're actually like, this might actually pay off. And again, it's July, or at least we're recording this on like end of July, early August, and we have a whole season to go through. So we don't really know if the tides will turn or change on this current or not. I don't know what the phrase is for that, but for right now, I feel like that feels like that's probably going to be like a likely contender. But as far as like obvious ones out there, I mean, unless anything major comes out, Dune 3 is probably going to win visual effects. Unless they go through like another scheduling change like they did the last two films. But I feel pretty good about that. That's like another one like, yeah, all right, locked. Didn't even bother talking about it. Move on. It's like the Avatar films. Whenever they come out, they're winning visual effects. So,
I missed whatever discourse there is about the Digger trailer, because I saw the trailer for the first time, when I was at the Odyssey. I think it looked great, and I've kind of soured on Iñárritu a little bit. Like I shouldn't say soured. He's just not a favorite of mine. But I liked the trailer. I was super intrigued by it. I like when people do weird stuff, and to me, it seems like the right amount of weird. Where I was like, "What's going on?" So I'm very much looking forward to it. I'm going in with high hopes.
And if nothing else, and I understand that there are people out there who are not a fan of Iñárritu, some of which might have been on this podcast. I don't know, but I've liked more of his films than not, and I've only seen about half of them. And yet, from what I've seen, at bare minimum, I'm going to get a really well-crafted film with solid performances from everyone involved. Even something like 21 Grams, which I thought was decent. Naomi Watts was fantastic in that film and easily deserved her Academy Award nomination she got for that role. And I just rewatched The Revenant actually like a week or so ago. But in short, I thought that film was like surprisingly held up pretty well, if nothing else, just for how Inarritu is setting up these epic battle sequences in the film, which is like, you don't see this kind of craftsmanship in modern movies. They're so shoddily done, where it's like you have like handheld cameras, like you have there's not a lot of preparation or any thought or imagination put into these lesser action films we get, even the historical epics that we're getting, or at least they're like, hey, see this historical epic on the big screen. It's a brand new movie. And it's like, oh, it looks like you guys just didn't even bother rehearsing any of these set pieces or put any real thought and effort into them to make them stand out from like AI slop. So, but I don't know. I'm at the barest minimum. I think the fact that Tom Cruise is taking on such a big swing of going back to playing a character and not doing an action role, like Mission Impossible, which I have enjoyed. I like them, but there comes a point where it's like, all right, come on, Tom, let's try to do the dramatic acting, even if it's just one time, you know. Can you do that for me? It's like Robert Downey Jr. It's like, hey, can you try to play a character and not do the Marvel stuff? It's fun and all, but like, let's go back to the action stuff, or to the action.
And I'll say again, I love how he was like, look how well I can act. Let me go back to getting $100 million paychecks now.
Yeah, with
like,
Doomsday. Yeah.
I hope that this is like a new phase for Tom Cruise. I don't think it is necessarily, but I'm with you on Inarritu. I still have some work to do, so I can't do like a full filmography type of thing with him, because there's some that I just haven't seen. But I like more of them than not. It's just some filmmakers, they're like top tier. Like if they're directing something, I will be seated and just excited solely based on the filmmaker alone. Yeah. And I don't know if Inarritu is like at that level for me. But speaking of films that have changed release dates, Chloe Dumont's new film Place in Hell, starring Michelle Williams, has moved to 2027. Now, I'm a little bit confused because I saw everyone talking about, oh, well, now we definitely have a slot opened up in Best Actress. I don't know why everyone was convinced that this was necessarily going to be an Oscar play to begin with. I was a big fan of Fair Play. It's on Netflix now. I thought that was such a great, I think, feature directorial debut for Chloe Dumont. Like, I really do like her, but just based on that film, I don't know if this would have necessarily been an Oscar-y type of a role for Michelle Williams. So all that to say, it's coming out in 2027 now. So if you did have Michelle Williams in your Best Actress predictions, time to pick a new horse, as they say.
Yeah. She was my number one. No, I'm kidding. No,
actually, I was the chairman of her awards campaign. Thank you very much.
Yeah, now it's done. Now I get to disband it immediately before the season begins. If you are that person, I feel really bad because that sucks. I don't know. I like Neon's got a lot of, at least it feels like they have a lot of contenders on their hands potentially. I know they have Fjord, which won the Palme d'Or from Cannes. That's probably going to be a major awards contender. If not, it's going to be one of their top contenders they're going to push out. And I mean, we'll see what happens with the Michelle Williams film. And, you know, maybe it was just like, hey, look, guys, like it's just more of a commercial play. Like not every film we're going to see through the festivals are going to be touted as like awards play. We got that Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield film like a year or two ago. And that wasn't even any kind of awards play at all. It was just a commercial type movie.
We Live in Time?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. Which I like very much and highly recommend going back to if people listening haven't had a chance to see that. I thought it was very good.
But it's like this all the time where it's like, it's fine. It happens. And again, it's July. We're in the middle of summer. Anything can happen from now until the Oscars. But if anything, I think out of all the films we're going to be getting pretty soon, or at least over the next few months, the one film that's really surprised me is and like a very good surprise, was how strong Obsession is with people. Like I just recorded a podcast episode yesterday, and the guest and I, we were talking about how strong Obsession has been going since TIFF. Like when it premiered at TIFF last year, for the midnight screenings or Midnight Madness. I can't remember what the title is for that, but and then it did so well financially speaking in like April, I think is when it came out, and then has just done so well to where it's like either it's on track to make $500 million or almost there to make $500 million. And I'm just thinking to myself, you know, if Focus Features decides to like whatever happens from like now until December, if they decide to be like, you know what, we're dropping this, we're not going to focus on awards potential for this, we got other films to contend for. I'm like, okay. I mean, you're sitting on like almost $500 million movie that's capturing the zeitgeist, whether people like it or not is totally different. But in terms of like awards prospects, this is the type of movie that the new Academy is embracing, of this like small horror film with a lot of passion behind it, and a lot of good performances in it. And even, you know, even we've seen recently horror has been slowly embraced by the Academy. We saw last year with Sinners getting 16 Oscar nominations, like breaking the record. Weapons got in for Amy Madigan and she got her Oscar. And The Ugly Stepsister, I think it was like The Ugly Stepsister, got nominated for makeup as well. So it's like, it's slowly like horror is something that it's like, that is a genre that is going to be like slowly embraced by Academy, if not by older voters, then definitely by the international European crowd for sure. Because even they were able to be like, yeah, let's go for the substance. Like a couple years ago, let's give Demi Moore's film some nominations. So
yeah, I am like a little afraid of Obsession, because last year when Weapons, the whole season, I was like, I just don't see this happening. Like even until the very end, I just wasn't predicting Amy Madigan, because I was like, she's the lone nominee from her film. Like it didn't get makeup, it didn't get casting, it didn't get screenplay. Like I just didn't see it, because I was like, you need to have, I'm a big believer in like, there needs to be some sort of like awards package, like something else that kind of builds to the win or the nomination. And like, I just didn't see it. And so now with Obsession, I'm like afraid to be like, oh, it's happening or it's not happening. Cause I'm like, maybe I just can't read like the horror, you know, how people react to horror. Even, you know, you mentioned like I was at the TIFF premiere for Obsession and I thought it was like very good. I enjoyed it so much. And I was like, oh, like this is going to make some money, but I never would have thought it would make like close to $500 million and be one of the biggest movies of the summer. And like to this level, you know, I thought maybe it was going to be like, you know, I don't know, like the Purge movies or like that level of, or like Paranormal Activity, where it like becomes like a phenomenon for a while and then fades. But like, as you said, like people are still very much like on the Obsession bandwagon. Even people in my life who are like not film people are like obsessed with it and want to keep talking about it. And and then I feel like an asshole for being like, oh, I saw it at TIFF. Like I know what you're talking about. And they're like, okay, can you be normal for a second?
Yeah, I saw the unrated cut at TIFF and not the R-rated cut. How does that make you feel?
And the director and all, everyone was there. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I again, we'll see what happens. Funny enough, to go on a side tangent here, I actually did predict Amy Madigan only within that last 24-hour span, which I would not recommend unless you are like willing to put all of your credentials at risk and be like, you know what, put the gun to my head in case this fails. You know, give me the rope or whatever. Like, you know, do a public execution if this doesn't pan out. And I really, the only reason why I was convinced as to why Amy Madigan was going to pull it off at the last minute was not only did a fair amount of Oscar pundits had been talking to voters, but we saw this years before this, where if you're in a race between two people for a certain category, the stronger film 9 out of 10 times or stronger performance tends to win in the end. But if you are in a field where you have more than two films or performances competing against each other, like the Spotlight year was one where it's like we had Spotlight, Big Short, Revenant, and all these other contenders, but those were really the top three. Typically, the film that wins the end is the one that resonates with voters the most. And at that point you're like, okay, then if a lot of people are really talking about Amy Madigan, regardless of how they felt about the film, maybe she is going to pull this off. But we'll see what happens with Obsession. All I know is that I feel that unless something else comes out from Focus Features, it would be kind of a boneheaded move for them to be like, you know what, we're not even going to tout this for any kind of awards, not even for like a lone screenplay nomination or a lone acting nomination for Inde Navarrette. But we'll see what happens with Obsession. If it gets nominated, I would be interested. If nothing else, it kind of captures into that, underdog narrative of sorts. It's like, look at this film that premiered at TIFF. No one thought this was going to be any kind of awards play. Everyone thought, like you and I, we were like, oh, it's probably just going to make some money and that'll be it. But then the hype just went through the roof. And by the time I saw it, it was like on its third or fourth weekend. And I'm like, holy crap, like this is making money. So we'll see what happens.
If they don't, and I think they very much will mount a campaign for her because they first of all have the money to do it now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But also, like that would just be one of the biggest missed opportunities. And I do think Indy, she has she's the strongest part of that film, and she has a lot going for her in terms of like the ingenue discovery, it reminds me a lot of like Alicia Vikander and like Ex Machina, that kind of thing of like, where did she come from type of a performance. So like, I can very much see it. I just am not ready to like put her in my predictions or like outright be like, she's going to win, because when they announced, to go back to A Place in Hell, like when that moved, all of a sudden the conversation became, well, like, oh, Indy's slot has opened up. Like how nice is it Williams to step aside. But I'm like, do you have a strong feeling about whether Inde Navarrette should be in lead or supporting?
Not really. I mean, if you want to put her in lead, sure, go ahead. But like your chances might decrease a little bit because she's not like the main focus. Like it's not from her perspective, I should say. She's sharing screen time with her co-star. But whether she's put in lead or supporting, I'm okay with it personally. But if they do put her in supporting, then I think it's like, okay, this might be checkmate at this point. Like we'll see what happens. But if she does go into lead, then it's like, okay, then we have an interesting race on our hands, because the moment Michelle Williams was dropped from the awards, and I don't know if I really even thought of that as any kind of awards play sort of such, but the moment she dropped out, the first person I immediately thought of, I don't know if you thought of this either, but I was thinking to myself, damn, like we might actually see Julianne Moore with her second Oscar. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the debut. I mean, no one has seen the movie as far as I know within my circles, but just based on the trailer, where that film is going to be screened at from, like, I think it's going to TIFF and it might go to Telluride. I mean, we don't even know what's going to be screening at Telluride anyways, but it does feel like if the debut is going to be a big awards play and becomes more than just Julianne Moore, there is a chance that could be our like potential lead actress frontrunner. Because I remember last year people were like, could Jessie Buckley pull this off like around this time? But like, could she do it for Hamnet? And then when it dropped in Telluride and TIFF, and it's like, yeah, okay, game over.
Right.
So who knows? We'll see what happens.
I mean, I would love a Julianne Moore like come back in terms of award season, just because she is like, I said Iñárritu isn't a director that I'll necessarily show up for. You put Julianne Moore in anything, like the amount of really bad movies I've watched just because of Julianne Moore, like so I would love to see that happen. I also wonder, like, in supporting, I'm still very much like, I would love to see something happen for Samantha Morton. I don't know, but that would kind of be like, if I was advocating for somebody at this point, it would be Samantha Morton. I just love her. But also, speaking of, I wanted to bring up Sense and Sensibility, because I see a lot of people predicting Daisy Edgar Jones, and I don't know how I feel. Obviously, we have not seen, this is sight unseen. We're just talking about sort of people that are in the ether of like, that are being discussed. And I don't know.
Have you seen the Ang Lee version of Sense and Sensibility?
I have, and I think it's fantastic.
Okay.
And I really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I covered that one on my podcast with Clarissa Beckstead, and it was a good episode we did, and I'm very glad I saw the movie. This was like at least a year ago we covered it, and I just thought to myself, why would you want to adapt or do another take on a story that's been nominated for Best Picture and got Emma Thompson her adapted screenplay Oscar? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess maybe it's because the fact that Jane Austen is such a popular name amongst the literary community, and she has had a couple of her books adapted into film. That could be like a good reason why it's like, hey, let's readapt this for a new audience. But I don't know. I don't know. Like, it doesn't really feel or sound like the kind of awards, like major awards play for the time being, outside of like maybe costume design and production design. But I will say this, I'm finding more and more that the typical veteran old guard academy films that we are seeing of this like time period piece is fading away slowly each year. Like, the more and more the academy expands to more European, international, younger voters, the less we're getting of the old guard academy. So something like Nuremberg we saw last year didn't get in. And yes, it had the old guard, fan base behind it, but I'm pretty sure that didn't even make much money, or it wasn't like that big of a success to be like, oh, this is like worthy of getting it in front of a lot of Academy member voters. And I think it got a couple of BAFTA nominations, but that was about it. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, unless you're something like that, or like, unless you're something where you're like a Conclave, where it's like $100 million easily, and you become like a pretty big, a profitable film for Focus Features. I don't know if the Academy is going to really like advocate for that kind of stuff unless there's like a well-known producing team attached to it, or even just a well-known director behind it, because that's how we got F1 into Best Picture. Was we got it was Joseph Kosinski directing the movie, who did Top Gun, Maverick, and then we had Jerry Bruckheimer, we had Dee Dee Gardner, Jerry McCliner, Brad Pitt, all producing it. And the fact that it did so well at the box office and it got that PGA nod, I thought, like this could be nominated for picture, guys. And it was just an accident. I mean, talk about a movie that just didn't do much for Academy members. That was a movie. It was just an accident. It was a movie where it's like, it didn't really do that well on the BAFTA long list. And it's like, wow, okay. So they're not going to go for more than 2 international contenders, but but going back to
Well, you bring up a couple of good points there that I want to touch on. I do think you're right that like we almost need sort of a multi-generational appeal for like even something like Weapons, like yes, did appeal to younger audiences, but then I think Amy Madigan and sort of everything with her character did sort of maybe appeal to older people or people who were just fans of hers. And then you have something like Hamnet, which like was kind of labeled as like a mom movie, but I think did have like it appealed to like book lovers, Shakespeare lovers, people like, I don't know. I went to see it in theaters multiple times, and there was definitely people in my audiences that were not just moms. You know what I mean? And I do think more and more like having broad appeal is important. And then in the case of it was just an accident. That's an interesting one because I think it coming out like winning the Palme d'Or and sort of being crowned the early front runner like kind of hurt it a little bit. And sometimes it's funny how that can like work in a film's favor of like once Oppenheimer came out, we were like, it's over, but then sometimes like it just doesn't hold up. And so I wonder like how you feel about that and like maybe what we're looking at this year. Because even with Sinners, we were like, well, Sinners came out in March, like it'll fade. It didn't fade. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah. I think the problem with it was just an accident was the fact that you had the politics, which no one really wanted to talk about or address of what Jafar Panahi and his writing team were addressing in the film very well and eloquently, I should say. But also the fact that a studio like Neon was only able to get 2 movies into Best Picture. They got Sentimental Value, which everyone thought, oh, well, that's going to be our Palme d'Or winner. And it's like, nope, it just won the, it was like Silver Lion or like second place prize they had. And Secret Agent, which did win a fair amount of prizes, including Best Actor for Wagner Moura at the Cannes Film Festival. So, yeah, that's just something else you got to keep in mind, too. It's like the studios are only going to be able to campaign for so much for certain movies. And the reason why is just they don't have unlimited resources with them to do like a widespread of like, let's get all 15 of our movies nominated for picture. And it's like, guess what? Like, you're only going to have 2 or 3 of your movies be seen by voters at most. And I just feel like that's why Axton just didn't make it into Best Picture, but it still got a screenplay and international film nomination for sure, which was great. But yeah, and as far as like, you know, because you mentioned Oppenheimer, I'm curious to know, like, I know the Odyssey is probably going to get in for picture and director, and it's going to get a bunch of nominations, no question about it. Like the fact that it's made at least over $700 million within a couple weeks. I think we're going to be on its like second or third weekend coming up. It's made like almost $1 billion, and it's probably going to end its run at $1 billion. In fact, they just announced today that they're going to expand their IMAX screenings until September, which is nuts. But that's what happens when you get a Christopher Nolan guy out there in full force to be like, see this on IMAX, and not just IMAX 70 millimeter. And people want to see it like all the way through September. But I don't know if he's going to be able, if someone like him is going to be able to repeat his success at the Oscars like he did with Oppenheimer. Like he might be able to walk away with director again, but I don't know if he's going to be able to win Best Picture again, just because even within the expanded field, it's been so hard for a director to win another Best Picture prize for their film. And because it's not a plurality vote, and it's more based on like who has the it's like I guess it's like the second most votes overall, and they do like a round of voting here and there to be like who, like, yeah, it's like a whole ranked system of sorts. And I think that's what's going to hurt. Well, that could hurt the Odyssey from winning Best Picture potentially. But again, we don't know what's going to happen, and for all we know, I don't know, maybe this could be like the film that wins the majority of prizes, or maybe we're in for like a split year with picture and director, because we haven't gotten that since the Coda and Power of the Dog year. Ever since then, it's always been director and picture has always stayed in sync. And a lot of that is because of the fact that it's a certain director's time. Well, except for the Daniels, because they were on their second movie for Everything Everywhere. But you had like Oppenheimer, you had Anora, and you had One Battle, where it's like, hey, this guy or this filmmaker has worked in this industry for over 20 years. They never got their shot at winning the prize. This may be our only chance to go with this kind of movie. And they just made movies that were either finally, it's like, hey, we're finally on the Academy's, high standards, or we don't have a lot of competition here. In the case of like Oppenheimer was like the moment that dropped, everyone was like, okay, director is done. No one's going to beat him. Like Martin Scorsese's not winning his second Oscar. Yorgos isn't winning this. Like literally no one's going to challenge him. And then even with last year with Paul Thomas Anderson, everyone, I don't know if any of the award pundits on here had done it last season, but there were some who were trying to challenge Paul Thomas Anderson for director and say, no, Ryan Coogler, he's going to provide the big upset on Oscar night. And it's like, no, he's not. Like Ryan Coogler is going to have to settle on original screenplay, and that'll be it for himself. But we'll see what happens with the Odyssey.
But to go back to that, like the idea of broad appeal, I mean, something like Sinners, like obviously really did have broad appeal. I mean, One Battle as well. And I just wonder, like, of the films that we have in contention this year, I think Dune is still considered kind of like a niche sci-fi, like Avatar. Like, I don't think Avatar as a franchise necessarily has broad appeal. I think people just see it as like a technical achievement. And I think Dune is kind of in a similar vein. Like I don't really buy the argument that this is going to be the film that wins Villeneuve an Oscar. And so maybe the Odyssey of the films we have in contention is the one with the most broad appeal, especially because of the messaging. Unless you can think of, like, can you think of another one right now that you think might be more?
I actually have one on the top of my head, and I don't know. We'll have to see how this goes when it shows up at Venice. But there's one film at Venice that stood out to me, and I think we all knew it was going to show up at Venice anyways because of this director's past with the festival. I'm wondering if Wild Horse 9 becomes like a big awards contender, because I understand that Three Billboards has divided a lot of people. And yes, Martin McDonagh has his naysayers, especially within the Academy, but there's something about that. And they're probably not showing a lot in the trailer that we've seen so far since like March when it dropped. Like I think it was like a few days after the Oscars, and they're like, all right, oh, by the way, Searchlight's coming back with another contender. And it's Wild Horse 9. But I really, there's something about that movie that I'm like, I wonder if that's going to be our like best picture, front runner, so to speak. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, and for all we know, this trailer looks like another Seven Psychopaths, which is a fun movie for what it was, but it's not Academy, niche kind of a favoritism. But Martin McDonagh he finally got into the director category with Banshees of Inisherin. He could come back again with Wild Horse 9. But that's really the only one I'm thinking of right now that feels like that could be our like potential front runner status. And then, watching like September, the reviews drop and it's like, oh, this isn't going to be competing for the Oscars. It'll be for the Razzies instead.
Well, I think the last time we had a film win Best Picture that wasn't really like a technical film was Green Book. Like, I feel like our more recent Best Picture winners, like they have some sort of like craftsmanship and artistry that goes along. And so to me, Wild Horse 9, I'm super excited for it, but I just wonder if it's like, oh, it's like a good screenplay and maybe like an acting winner, but like it's not big enough, quote unquote. It doesn't have as much like craftsmanship.
I mean, Coda was like that too, where that just had like picture, acting, and screenplay. Yeah.
But I don't know if that was like a COVID thing though. We'll see. It'll be a good test to see how much the Academy again has like changed, because last year I saw people predicting Sinners for like 16 nominations. I think I had it down for 14 or something, and I was like 16. And so like I think every year when I'm like, I think I have this figured out of what they're gonna do, they do something else. So I do think Martin McDonagh though is one of those filmmakers where like they want to see him win. So I feel like screenplay at the very least, he's positioned very well.
It's funny you say that because he did win an actual Oscar for live action short for Six Shooter, which not a lot of people know. It's a good short, but you're right though. Like he's never won a feature film Oscar. He's been nominated a few times, but it's like he never, like the two times he got close to winning screenplay, he lost to the like sci-fi genre bending, type movies with Get Out and Everything Everywhere.
And that helps him, I think. People not realizing that he had the short film Oscar. Same thing with like Taika Waititi. It's like, yeah, he had an Oscar, but people didn't associate him with like, capital O, capital W Oscar winner.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. No disrespect to anyone who's won a short film Oscar. You deserve all the respect in the world. It's just people's brains are strange. We did want to talk about some festival stuff because most of TIFF's lineup has dropped. And I have kind of fumbled my scheduling this year. So I don't even know if I can go to TIFF and or go to like most of it. Like maybe I might just go to the first weekend and leave. But there's a lot of good. And see, this is what's frustrating is like this is one of the best lineups that I can think of. You have Arthur Harari's The Unknown, which I'm super excited for. You have The Only Living Pickpocket in New York, which could very well be a vehicle for John Turturro. You have Rami Malek kind of back to Oscar caliber work with The Man I Love, the Ira Sachs film. You've got Prima Fosse and, Cynthia Erivo. I think like you can never counter out the debut from Jesse Eisenberg you mentioned. I'm just scrolling to see.
Even though it's going to be premiering at Venice first, Ink, the new Danny Boyle film, will be showing up there as well, which I'm actually curious to see what he's going to do, because I did an episode for another episode for my channel we did on Train Spotting, and I figured out as we were recording the episode, I realized when we got closer to the end, I was like, wait a minute, Danny Boyle tends to work really well for Academy voters when he's not in his punk rock era. So like when he's not doing Train Spotting or 28 years later or 28 days later as well, it's like whenever he's not doing that, he tends to do decently with the Academy. Like he did Slumdog Millionaire, he did 127 Hours, that was like his honeymoon phase, and then he had done Steve Jobs, which only got the 2 acting nominations, but so I'd be curious to see Danny Boyle back in the award circuit.
And I would love to see Danny Boyle back. I'm a huge fan of his. I don't know why. I've just always had a soft spot for Danny Boyle. I just wonder, it's funny because Ink, we went from that being to like, oh, it's coming out in 2026. It might be a thing. And then for a while we were like, no, it's coming out in 2027. Never mind. Now it's definitely coming out in 2026 and it's going to have quite a festival run. Like they're positioning it. I just wonder if that one might be one of those movies where like we're like a Nuremberg, where like we watch it and we're like, no, that's just like a dad movie and it's not gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want it to not be that, especially because it's very timely. And you've got help me, what's his Guy Pearce, who I think should have won for The Brutalist. Like I just love Guy Pearce, so I would love to see something happen for him, but I'm kind of nervous. Like I'm not ready to put that in any major predictions. Josephine is also going to be at TIFF, so it's interesting that they're kind of giving that film a second push after Sundance of like, don't forget about Josephine. La Bola Negra is going to be at TIFF, so Netflix is really pushing that one hard. I think that one's going to be a major player. I think that has kind of all the makings of something that could be really big.
Yeah, La Bola, the Black Ball is what the English translation is. For anyone who can't pronounce the title like I can at the moment. But no, I really do think that is going to be Netflix's big push. Like Ink will be definitely up there, it sounds like, because of how many festivals it's going to. But the Black Ball will definitely be one where it's like, this is going to be your big awards play. Almost in a way where they're like, you know what, let's focus on Amelia Perez. Like we know there's a lot of people out there that don't like the movie, but whatever, who cares? That's our main push for the Oscars. But I'd be curious. Yeah. The Black Ball, I'd be curious in seeing Fjord. I'm very curious about, I don't know if I'll have, because I live in Pennsylvania and we don't have any like, hoity-toity, fancy theaters here within like an hour drive. But I'd be curious to know if all of a sudden Ryusuke Hamaguchi's next movie, if that's going to be any kind of awards play at all, or if it's just going to be like, look, he accepted the Oscar on behalf of his country for Drive My Car, and now he's doing all of a sudden. So we'll see what happens.
That is my most anticipated film of the fall awards films. Like I cannot wait to see that. And if it disappoints me, I'm going to be devastated. We also have Florian Zellner's Bunker, which, what was the first one?
The Father, and then the
Father.
Son.
Okay, yeah, we had The Father, which obviously hit real big. The Son, which was a complete dud. And then now we have Bunker. But like Penelope Cruz is on one heck of a run, and I just wonder like if this could be something for her. I'm like, how many movies can she possibly be nominated for this year in supporting actress? She has like the supporting actress category could literally just be Penelope Cruz, which I support.
Yeah, of course. I really like her as an actress. Her and Javier Bardem are terrific. But who was it? Yeah, because she was also in The Invite, if I remember correct. If
Yeah.
I'm okay. All right. So she's got
And
that. She's got Blackballed. Yeah.
yeah. And then we have Sean Hayter back, speaking of Coda, with Being Human. This is one of those films that can go either way. Clarissa, I'm very much looking forward to. I think Sofia Okonedo is being really underestimated at the moment, and I think this could be a big play for her. So I'm very excited. Jordan Firstman's Club Kid made a big splash out of Cannes. That'll be at TIFF. Mike Flanagan's Carrie, although that's a TV show, but that's interesting that they're. I have a hot take. I don't think we should be putting TV programming at film festivals. Keep TV festivals, and keep your film festivals.
No comment, because I don't watch TV all that much, and I don't go to these festivals to begin with. I don't have the money to go to them, so I have no real opinions on them.
But yeah, all of a sudden it's going to be at TIFF. Another one that I think could be a major awards player is Andrew Haig's All of a Sudden. I mean, not all of a sudden, sorry, A Long Winter. I think that could be like a screenplay player. So look out for that one.
I also want to point out, because I actually found out about this the other day, Mike Leigh not only has a film going to TIFF with Tender Loving Care, but I don't know if it's been official or not, but I believe Mike Leigh had stated that this might be his last movie due to his illness, which,
yeah,
I mean, it sucks, but if this is going to be his final movie, then, yeah, I'm at least grateful he's able to get one more out. We're losing all these great filmmakers, with like Martin Scorsese, he was like another really good one. I'm trying to think of like another one that's like, because I don't know. It's just like, it's going to be like this, unfortunately, where it's like, as we get older, some of our filmmakers that we look up to, whether because we love their films or we love their passion or the way they're telling their stories, is like, they're not going to be around for a while, for forever.
Yeah.
But I wish the best for Mike Leigh, and I hope he, I just wish him the best.
I was very sad to hear that, but I'm like, if he wants this to be a swan song and he feels like he's ready to retire, then like I respect that. I like people to be able to make those decisions on their own terms, and I hope that we honor him as he should be honored, because what was his last film? I'm blanking. You guys, I'm sorry. Hard Truths, that should have been nominated for Best Actress. Marianne Jean-Baptiste. She should have won that year. One of the best performances. I'm heartbroken.
And what's also funny is that since I started my own podcast, for my episodes, it was just so funny because I never got around to watching Mike Leigh films until I had to watch some of his films for my own show, whether it's like I'm reviewing something like Happy Go Lucky, or I'm covering something like Fargo on the Patreon, where I'm like, okay, I got to watch like Secrets and Lies for the first time. And I'm very happy that I got a chance to at least see some of his earlier stuff, which is quite good, I got to say.
Yeah, Mike Leigh is another director where I have some work to do. I've seen a couple of his classics, but everything that I have seen, like I love, and so I very much look forward to having the opportunity to like fill out my Mike Leigh spreadsheet. I also want to just point out I Play Rocky from Peter Farrelly. I will say, I don't think this is going to be an awards player. I'll just come out and say it. I will say the trailer did kind of hit me in the feels, though.
Yeah, I was not happy. yeah, I was not having any of this this charmness that the film was trying to give me. I was like crossing my arms, even watching the trailer in front of the Odyssey. I'm like, I am not buying any of this whatsoever. It's like, why are we doing a biopic on the Rocky? Why are we doing a biopic on Sylvester Stallone? Why are we recreating shots from the movie? Like, I you know, I'm very cynical in that way, but yeah, I'm just, yeah, I don't know. It just comes across like very much like, give me an Oscar, but it's like, but you already have one, Peter.
You have two.
You have two.
There's far more talented filmmakers out there, I'm sorry to say, that have zero. So
Mike Lee doesn't have an Oscar yet.
Yeah. And speaking of you know, people we lost, oh my god, I'm blanking on, people are like screaming at me right now, who Blue Velvet, David Lynch, the great David Lynch, passed away with no Oscars to his name. So I do also want to say the sort of headlining main film, the opening film of the New York Film Festival is going to be Tony Gilroy's The Behemoth, starring Pedro Pascal. So that'll be very interesting to see where this goes. Obviously, that's a big vote of confidence for the film, for it to be the New York Film Fest centerpiece. I don't know if I like Pedro Pascal a lot. I don't know if this is gonna be his Oscar moment. We shall see. I do like Tony Gilroy very much, though, so I'm looking forward to this. And if I make it to New York Film Festival, hopefully I will have a chance to see it.
Out of curiosity, is your admiration or love for Tony Gilroy because he had done television or movies as well?
I mean, I'm trying to, like, I like Michael Clayton. I like him. I wouldn't say he's like a favorite, or like I'm automatically seated just because of the Tony Gilroy, but I feel like he's impressed me more than not.
The reason why I'm asking is because I could only think of like one movie he's done as a director that I was really impressed by, which was Michael Clayton, which was really good. And he had wrote the Bourne trilogy, the first three at least. He had a hand in writing, and I haven't seen Andor, so I don't really have, again, no opinions on the television whatsoever. But I'm more curious about Behemoth, of like what it'll be, but from the vibes I got of it was like, oh, this is like Tar light. It's probably not, it probably has a completely different story to it and messaging, but that was the vibe I got. It was like, oh, Tony Gilroy watched Tar and now he wants to do his own take on it. I don't know.
Which is why I don't necessarily know if I buy this as being an awards thing. Like, I remember Duplicity coming out and everyone was like, that's going to be an awards player, and it wasn't. But I that's an understatement of it not being. But like, I think I like the thing that he does, which is like these like thrillery movies that feel like they're for adults, and like, of this sort of working man directors that we have, I think he's one of the better ones. Although he did write The Great Wall, which is like,
terrific.
I think anyone who like involved with that movie, you owe us a permanent apology.
Including Matt Damon.
Including Matt Damon. I do think Rogue One, like, it's like one of the better ones of the more recent Star Wars things that we've gotten. So the talent is there. I just don't know if this is going to be an awards thing. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. Speaking of, if I may transition to biopics, I do appreciate that we're in a biopic era where we're doing biopics that aren't just a straight biopic. Like, I'm not a fan of the Peter Farrelly of it all, but I like the idea of like, let's kind of make a biopic about a movie. I think that's kind of cool. I went to the press screening of Tony last night, and I thought doing an Anthony Bourdain biopic that's set over the course of one summer and have him be like really young and not the Anthony Bourdain parts unknown that we're super familiar with was a creative take. And so like, if we're gonna do the biopic thing, I would much prefer a Tony type of a a take than like the let's start from when they're a kid and move to present day, a la Michael or whatever. So yeah, I did like Tony quite a bit. It's interesting because normally the press screenings are like the weekend or like the week before the film comes out. So the fact that they're really pushing this and having it screened for critics so early is a good sign. But then part of me is like, I wish you would have held this film until October, November, because I do think Dominic Sessa is very good and he could be a contender. I think it's just coming out too soon. And Best Actor is just absolutely gonna be a bloodbath. But he's great. Like maybe a comedy Golden Globe. I would love to see that for him. I think he would be very deserving.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens with lead actor, but it is looking more and more likely that it's going to be. We might see some snubs on the day on nomination morning, if everything goes the way it is. And it's funny, yeah, you're bringing up biopics, but you haven't brought up the Odyssey because apparently people are confusing that for like a biopic, and in reality, it's like, no, that's a myth, guys. That's not a biopic. Okay, stop with this.
I've said this before on Chasing the Gold. I'm gonna say it again. It's not based on real people or real things. There's no such thing as a cyclops. It's not real. Okay.
Yeah.
These arguments of like what it's supposed to look like, it doesn't matter because it's not a real thing at all. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Lord.
It's just ridiculous, these people.
Yeah. And it's sad that a property that's been out for, I don't even know, hundreds of years, we need to tell, like, you should know that it's not a biopic.
Yeah, if that's the case, it's like, do you guys think Troy, the one with Brad Pitt's, a biopic?
I think they do.
Oh my God. It's just ridiculous, these people.
And we should mention, like, the Odyssey started out as an oral story that was then written down later on. So it's gone through so many iterations, not just in terms of like how it's translated in the different versions that you read can be very different. Like originally when it came into the world, it was not even written. So like, that's the whole point. It's almost like it's like something that was brought into the world to be adapted and shared and like given to people. And this is just one man's take on it. So relax.
Yeah. Relax, folks. It's just a movie.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just was to go back to Tony real quick. I am very glad to see that Dominic Sessa was not just like a holdovers one-hit wonder. Like the kid is just genuinely super, super talented. So that's that on that. I think Tony's great, and I think everybody should see it.
Didn't he star in something in between Holdovers and Tony?
He in the Saturday night movie, the Saturday Night Live.
Let me see.
I feel like he was in that.
No, okay, it wasn't in that. He was in Now You See Me, Now You Don't. That's what it was.
Oh, well, I did go to see that in theaters actually, and I thought he was very good in that. Completely forgot that I paid my hard-earned money to see that film, but I did enjoy his performance in it. He's very charismatic.
Something else I don't know if you knew about this, but Tim White and Trevor White co-produced Tony. They had got nominated for King Richard, so you never know. It could be an awards play. We don't know.
He like I said, I think if it would have come out in November, it would, and people were going to see it in Thanksgiving time. Mm-hmm. I would feel much better about it. I think it's just coming out too soon. But I really, really did like it. I want to plug again that the Hadestown sort of filmed musical that's in theaters right now is great. If it's still playing near you this weekend, please go see it. It's phenomenal. Really, really cool. Obviously, theater tickets are very expensive. So to be able to pay $10, $15 and see the original cast is extraordinary. Don't miss the chance. One other film that I want to point out is Reading Lolita in Tehran. I promise y'all, I'm a very articulate person. I'm just getting tongue-tied all over the place today. But it's an adaptation of Azar Nafizi's novel, or nonfiction book, I should say, but it's very, very good. A very good adaptation of a book that I really love. And I don't think you would regret spending your money on that either. So there's lots of good things to see in theaters. If you've already seen The Odyssey and you're looking for something else, plenty of good options still out there.
I'm actually, I didn't even know they did Reading Lolita, and you said Reading Lolita in Tehran.
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that was turned into a movie.
It's a tiny film. They've expanded it to more theaters this week, so it should be playing somewhere near you. But I highly, highly recommend it. I was really, really moved by it, and it's very well acted. Again, I don't think it's good. It's not an awards thing. It's a tiny movie, but worth your time and worth your money for sure.
Okay. I'll add it to my watch list.
Yeah. Matthew, is there anything that you have seen recently that you want to tell the folks about? Whether it's in theater, something you watched at home?
The only thing I watched actually was The Odyssey in theaters. I enjoyed The Odyssey. I liked it. I'm not like head over heels with it. I have such a more positive but somewhat mixed perception of Nolan, which is funny. We're talking about him, I believe, on his 56th birthday. I do like Nolan as a filmmaker, and I like most of his films, but I just feel like after outside of like Oppenheimer, I think at best he's just going to be like, he's going to deliver pretty good movies for my taste and my, high standards. But outside of that, I'm just like, okay, like I really like Dunkirk a lot. I enjoy Tenet, but I'm not going to be like head over heels with these movies outside of their technical craft. And that his days of like Inception and The Dark Knight are just way behind, outside of Oppenheimer, of course. But wouldn't be upset if The Odyssey gets all these nominations, because I think they are very deserving for sure. If it does, well, it probably will get these technical categories at bare minimum. But outside of that, I didn't really watch much else. I just did a rewatch of The Revenant. I have another podcast recording for my show in the can, which it'll be out by next week. So there was that. But other than that, I didn't really have a whole lot of time to watch any new movies. I was actually going to try to go see The Invite this past week, but it just, scheduling, man. I'm running around with my head cut off, and I got a couple of things going on over the weekend and things like that. But once everything cools down, maybe I'll try to watch it.
The Invite is great. So if you do get a chance to, it's very, very good and fun to watch with a crowd for sure. So highly recommend. And yeah, Matthew, I guess you and I are just like on the same page. So our hot takes aren't really hot takes. I don't know. I like Christopher Nolan a lot. I'm not as like obsessed with him to the level that some people are. Like, I enjoy his films quite a bit. And I've said this before about both Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve. I would love to see them go back to like some smaller films, like Prisoners era Denis Villeneuve, or like Prestige era Christopher Nolan. I thought was incredible. I don't think that's happening, but that's kind of where I thought they were operating at their best, of like more focus on character rather than just pure spectacle. But
Yeah, it's never going to happen, especially within today's market of wanting for a more big spectacle, make it worth putting $10-15 down for our tickets to go see this like epic movie, and not some small scale movie like whatever it is, like The Invite, I guess. I don't know. But no, I look forward to seeing The Invite. I was a little bit hesitant in watching it, even though a lot of people kept telling me, like, Matt, you got to see The Invite. It's like one of the best movies of the year. And I'm like, yeah, all right. And then I keep hearing more and more people are watching, and I'm like, all right, fine. I might get peer pressured into seeing it. And then, and like I said, I think it was like yesterday I was going to go see it. And then I was like, wait, crap, I got to record for a podcast for my show. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch it sometime this weekend. And yeah, I might watch it tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But Yeah, but I look forward to seeing The Invite and all these other contenders coming out.
Yeah, I was worried it was going to be overhyped, and I think it's great. And I'll say again, I think Olivia Wilde needs to be in contention for Best Actress and for the screenplay, which she didn't write, but I just think she needs to be in contention in addition to the film itself. It's very, very, very good and very well directed. I just will say, other than Tony and Hadestown and reading Lolita in Tehran, I've also just been binge watching The Americans in my free time, which I'm obsessed with and never got a chance to watch when it was out. So if you would like to have a spoiler-free conversation with me about The Americans, I would love it, because that's kind of one of the problems with like later watching is like everyone's moved on, and I'm like, but I'm on season 3 and I really want to talk about it, and I can't, like, I'm so afraid of spoilers, so I don't want to go on any sort of like Reddit or anything like that. So yeah.
What do you mean they're on the like 100th season of Power Rangers? I just started season 2.
Yeah, right. Grey's Anatomy, who dies? I just watched the first episode. Yeah. Well, Matthew, where can the good folks find you on the internet?
You could follow me through Linktree under @Matthew995, where you could follow along on all my social media accounts, such as Twitter and Letterboxd. You can also follow my Lone Screenplay Nominee podcast show through Spotify and YouTube as well. We also have our own Patreon page where it's just run by myself, but we do exclusive episodes that will not be on the Lone Screenplay Nominee podcast. So we go over stuff like the Lone Tech categories. We go over, films that won screenplay and other categories as well. And membership is only $3 a month, per month, I should say. So that will never change. And, and you can also check out some of my writing on Substack, which I've written a few articles here and there, but I mostly, for the time being, I write for Awards Garage, where I have a couple of things working with them at the moment. I have a couple of top 5 lists. I will probably get another one out by next month, which I'm actually currently writing right now. And then when we get closer to the Oscar season, there's going to be some other stuff that I want to write for, just stuff in general. So you'll see it when it comes online. You'll know what it is. So
yeah. And if my master plan comes to fruition, we'll be seeing a lot more of Matthew in the in-session circle as well. And you should listen to our podcast talking about Thelma and Louise. I was much more articulate there than I am here. I'm like on my 5th cup of coffee, and I think I'm just like too jittery. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening. As always, I'm Shadan Larkey. You can find me everywhere at Shadan Larkey. In Session Film, Awards Buzz. I'm doing all the things. If you guys have any comments, questions, ideas for things that we can do while we're in this off season, let me know what you think of The Odyssey. Do you think that Tony is indeed an awards player? Do you have high hopes for Behemoth? Where do you land on all of this? I would love to hear. I do respond to every single comment. So I love getting comments. I love being able to like make this an actual conversation with people watching and listening. And we're just so appreciative. So subscribe, like, review, follow on all the social media feeds. Any and all support you can give us would just mean the world. But I'm Shadan Larkey here once again with Matthew Anderson, and we'll catch you next time on Chasing the Gold. Thank you so much.